All right. Hello, friends, and welcome to Autumn's Journey. I have a lot of visual novels on my computer that I have just listed that I wanted to play to the point where I don't really remember a lot of them. This is one of those where I remember it being something that I was like, oh, okay, maybe we should try it out. I don't remember anything about it, what it's about, or anything. But I think it's one of the shorter ones, so we'll see. I don't know. This is new to both you and I feel like. Let me start this because I've been on this screen while I've been working on setting everything up for too long of a time, and I'm sick and tired of hearing this start menu music. It just loops over and over again, and I'm gonna lose my mind. Let's go. Oh god, it continues. Chapter 1, The End of Summer. Sunlight filtered through the eerie birch forest as the lush ferns grazed my boots. I momentarily shielded my eyes before I turned north, treading carefully. The muggy atmosphere that had hung over the past few months was now being replaced by the subtle crispness of fall. Though the trees were still vibrantly green, apple picking season was fast approaching for the town of Barry. That's pretty cute. I cheerfully stretched one arm towards the sky, inhaling deeply. And thus my weekly scouting for monsters, bandits, or anything out of the ordinary that may harm local citizens is over.
Right!
And that concludes my mission. I might move myself over a little bit. Yes, this seems good. I would have to double check with me facing forward. Did I know? Continue. I laughed, wondering why I announced my agenda to no one. I guess I just always wanted to say that out loud. Walking around alone does prompt you into monologuing just so you can hear a voice. I just wish I wasn't restricted to freelance work in Barry, though. How long is my training going to last? I'm more than ready for knighthood. I can do this. I adjusted my sword belt, making sure the hilt could be pulled out at a moment's notice. Humming, I decided to meander back to the village by following the thin river down the gentle slope. I love the terrain here. There was always an inclination, and higher up I could get a breathtaking panorama of Barry and its endless orchards. Especially in autumn, when the leaves were so vibrantly red that the entire forest seemed to ignite, and the smell of frost and fallen foliage lingered welcomingly. It was then I spotted something entirely out of the ordinary near the riverbank, leaning against a tree. Birch trees were not exactly comfortable resting spots, and I did not recognize the stranger's attire. Hello? Are you a traveler? His face came into view, and I realized he was sleeping, but that's not what caught me off guard. He had beautiful protrusions resembling shale shards jutting out of his long hair, right where someone's ears should be. Or was it a decoration covering his ears? I suddenly wanted to touch them, but I resisted. If he woke up in an untimely manner, it would be awkward to explain. At first, I was about to leave, but then I noticed something else rather odd. I saw no bags, no possessions, or anything else on him. This music is so loud. This place is too far away from civilization for a simple afternoon stroll. Hold on. My goodness. Was he mugged? And if he had been in Barry previously, I would have known. It was that small of a town. Curiosity won me over. Hello? I grabbed his shoulder and gave it a gentle shake, finding his lack of response unnerving. I hovered a hand in front of his nose. Sure enough, he was breathing, and I didn't see any injuries that suggested he was knocked unconscious. After more feeble attempts to wake him, I decided to improvise a camp. I didn't want to leave him unattended, and I knew I couldn't drag his body very far. Tossing down my bag, I went to work. The fire crackled merrily as I opened my cloth, which contained a lump of rye bread and hard cheese. These were emergency rations, lest I was unable to return to Barry. Mother and father were probably worried. Just as I was about to bite into the cheese, I saw movement and glanced up, eyeing the stranger. Setting my food down, I cautiously shuffled over. I had previously placed his body in a supine? One of those words like I know the meaning of, but I don't know how to pronounce. Position, and used my bag as a substitute pillow. Though it was probably more lumpy than anything else, it was better than nothing. Are you awake now? You've been out all afternoon. I was getting worried.
Whoa!
In a split second, he shot up, then clumsily fell back. I caught his arm to steady him. Whoa, take it easy. You just got up. He flinched from my contact, and I hastily let go, retreating slightly. I didn't get any sense of hostility, but he certainly seemed bewildered. Who are you? There was an uneasy edge in his voice, not quite one of panic, but more of anger. It was then I noticed that his eyes were of a brilliant amethyst hue, contrasting with his earthy hair tones. Auralee, I found you in the woods outside of Barry. The surprise did not leave his eyes. He stared at his hands and then covered his face. Lastly, he ran his fingers through his brown hair. His horrified reaction was so unsettling that I dumbly sat there for several seconds before mustering the courage to address him again. Are you all right? Obviously not, but I wanted a better grasp of the situation. He attempted to sit up again, but this time I was prepared. Again, he was repelled by my touch, and I gave up on trying to help him that way. He still appeared unstable, but he stopped moving, at least. He actually did it.
The hell?
He clutched at his temples, his fingers grazing over the odd shards in the place of his ears. He wobbled as he tried to stand, and I impatiently rushed to his side. Stop it. You obviously can't move in your condition, so you might as well sit down and clear your head. What's going on? Who are you, and what are you doing here? He looked at me as if he was registering me for the first time since asking who I was. Everything about him screamed overwhelmed, and he simply grit his teeth in frustration. I'll be nice. You hungry, bro? I decided to find another angle to help him open up. I did not consider myself intimidating, but it was possible he had no desire to answer anything. Are you hungry? I softened my voice and returned to my spot by the fire. I grabbed the cloth and genially offered him the rye bread and cheese. Damn, okay. He only arched an eyebrow in disgust. What is that? It's food, you chew it. He ripped off a piece of the dark bread and demonstrated, humming delightedly to show that it was edible. He scoffed and averted his eyes.
I don't care.
Or want it. It looks revolting. Sorry my peasant food doesn't please my lord's tastes. His attitude was rubbing off on me. Calm down. If anything, he's hiding that he's scared. He did just wake up in a foreign place. Are you nobility? He fell silent, and only the occasional crackle of the fire and the hooting of owls interrupted the stillness. I leaned back and ruminated over my meal, careful to leave some food untouched in case he changed his mind. Oh, there was that apple tart, too. I'll save it for later. I wrapped up the cloth, only vaguely aware that the stranger was examining my every movement. It nettled me slightly, but I didn't comment. I did not want to do anything that would raise his guard even more. It was now dark, and I occasionally fed the fire, getting the feeling I was going to spend the night here. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally spoke up. Who are you again? Auralee, I'm from the town of Barry. And you? Care. He reluctantly uttered the name, gazing into the fire. He seemed much calmer now. And how did you get here? His lip curled, smirking knowingly. You probably wouldn't believe it if I told you. Listen, we're just starting the game. I'd believe anything at this point. You have unusual eyes and a strange fashion accessory over your ears. I think I can find your story credible. He flexed his hand, scrutinizing his fingers. I didn't come here willingly. Out of all the places, I don't see why he decided to drop me in this low-born, simplistic... Care? He glanced at me as if offended that I had addressed him directly. So, where are you from? I'm not particularly tied to any region. If it's not obvious already, I'm not one of you. I'm one of the dragons, an earth dragon. He stated it full of pride with no ounce of humility. Dubiously, I inspected him from head to toe, taking note of the stone-like juts for ears and his remarkable eyes. He balked under my stare, but quickly regained his dignity. So, why would an earth dragon be here? It's not because I wanted to. He blurted it out angrily, then touched his unique ears for comfort, okay? I sighed, then tilted my head as I absorbed his explanation. Alright, I'll admit I'm not exactly accepting this as feasible, but I'm not dismissing it either. You can't transform back? I could. Do you think I would remain in this pathetic body? So weak. I instinctively patted my sword hilt to counter that remark, but stopped when I saw him attempt to stand again.
Whoa!
It was like watching a toddler take his or her first steps, but instead of coaxing, I was fervently discouraging his efforts. We've already established that you're unfamiliar with your form. Besides, it's too dark to walk around aimlessly. I'll find a walking stick for you and we can return to Barry if you'd like. It'd feel wrong if I abandoned you in this state.
I don't need your help.
That was practically the same line. Why would I read that? I'm pointing it out. Realizing we were both escalating our voices, I looked away in a huff, not wanting to have our encounter turn sour so rapidly. An altar. I need to find an altar. You heavenkind worship us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the dragonkind were here first, so it's only natural we pay our respects. I admit I thought dragons were more divine and irreproachable. Care was definitely giving me a different impression. I barely knew anything about the dragonkind, though. They focused on their own affairs. You will take me there. It was a plain statement, not a suggestion, nor a plea. Why an altar? They're all heavenkind made. How would it help you? He parried my questioning exasperatedly. Doesn't matter. Do you know where one is?
Yeah.
There's one not far from here. There's a cave that leads to it. Good. We should go there this instant. He obstinately tried to stand up again, but I lunged forward and firmly sat him back down. He glared at me in disbelief, but my will was as stubborn as his. Morning. We will do this in the morning. Get some sleep and I'll find an ideal walking stick. I don't think you'll master bipedalism without some assistance, especially not in a day. And it'll be difficult if I have to physically support you the whole way there. So just take it easy tonight. I'll even keep watch while you sleep. He fell silent and gave a reluctant nod, closing his eyes wearily. I sighed gratefully, feeling moderately triumphant over that battle of pig-headedness. While Care grumbled, I leaned over and pulled a small blanket out of my bag. The temperature was still pleasant, even at night, but it could cool rapidly, especially since it was the end of summer. After returning some items to my bag, I reshaped it so it was a passable pillow again and offered it to Care, who seemed puzzled by its purpose. Believe me, you'll need something comfortable or you'll have trouble sleeping. Worse, you'll wake up with a sore back and getting to the altar will be even more troublesome. You've already slept on it once. I think you can figure out how to support your head with it again. I laughed sheepishly at my own stab at lightening the mood, but I could tell it wasn't working for Care. Disgruntled, he lay down on his side and experimented with a few positions before resting his head in satisfaction. At first, he refused to use the blanket, but as the temperature dropped, he discreetly pulled it towards him when he thought I wouldn't notice. Probably to hide his expression, he rolled over so his back was to me and the campfire. I had the feeling the initial shock took a lot out of him, and I immediately hadn't helped when he'd ruffled my feathers more than once. Now that he slept, any irritation I still felt dispersed, along with the summer heat. I would need to be mentally and physically prepared for tomorrow, stay cool and collected as autumn. I poked the fire and stayed on my watch until exhaustion beguiled me into resting my eyes for just a few minutes. Oh, that's cute. Hey. Oh, please, I've had less sleep than you and I'm already energized and ready to go. Pouting, I poked Care some more with the walking stick I had fashioned for him. It wasn't easy finding a sturdy stick in a birch forest, but I had located a long one that would suffice. I had spent the morning carving off any bark and even indented the top to make it easier to grip. Now it was my dragon prod. Arise, sacred dragon.
Whoa!
Cut that out. Care hastily shot up, throwing off my blanket in a feeble attempt to hide the fact that he used it. I decided to counter his usual scowl with the perkiest, most cheerful grin I could muster.
Whoops, sorry about that.
Good morning. My greeting was genuine. For some reason, it satisfied me to know that my high spirits irked him. I could use my sunny disposition to my advantage. It'd be better than snapping at him, at any rate. Stop poking me with that.
You're welcome.
It's your walking stick. Here. I turned it sideways and offered it to him. He warily gazed at it as if I was presenting a cobra instead, but carefully grasped it. Cautiously, he pressed the stick against the ground as he stood up. I remained close, lest he topple over like yesterday. His fingers drummed against the carved handle, and he looked at me quizzically. You spent time on this?
Right.
Well, I wanted to finish it off with a pretty flowing ribbon, but I had the feeling he wouldn't like it. Grumbling, Care took a step forward, leaning on the stick before hesitantly taking another. With each step, he regained some confidence, and soon he was walking in a straight line, albeit with an uneven gait. He could not exactly break into a run or even a brisk stride, but it was a huge improvement from last night. I estimated we could reach the cave leading to the altar by mid-morning. How about mid-afternoon? I quickly packed and followed him, since I had the feeling the only thing on his mind was that altar. It's this way. I pointed towards the gentle incline, and Care narrowed his eyes resentfully. Going downhill would probably be difficult for him. As we headed towards our destination, I kept my distance at first, but I gradually drew towards Care, one hand extended in case of a stumble. Care balked and increased the distance between us, determined to progress on his own. However, his pace was excruciatingly slow, and he was unwilling to start any small talk. As the slope steepened, his footing became more unsteady, and I worryingly grabbed his arm for support.
Whoa!
He twirled around in surprise, and I actually did end up bracing him. Once he was stable again, I sighed. Look, I know that you don't like me touching you, but if your priority is to get to that altar as soon as possible, I think you can swallow your dignity and accept my help. Besides, no one else is around to see you stumbling.
I don't need your help.
You've done enough. He shifted his weight and used the stick to ward me away. I frowned disapprovingly. Hey, if you try to hit me with that thing, I'll confiscate it. Even I wouldn't do something like that. Gritting his teeth, he leaned heavily against one of the birch trees. When I get back, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. Who? My master. His curt answer stalled the rush of questions piling up in my head. It would be poor of me to interrogate him when he was still obviously overwhelmed by the situation. Right now, the goal was more important.
Right!
Then let's get you to that cave. You believe me? Everything I told you? Maybe you're just a very convincing actor, but I think even an actor would drop the charade after a while. Damn, that was loud. Just as I was about to reach for him again, a low grumble pierced the forest. I glanced at Care in amused bafflement. He averted his eyes, but I could tell he was embarrassed. You know, if you're hungry...
Shut up!
I'm not. I think you'll be able to walk faster if you have something to eat. What do dragons eat, anyway?
Annoying.
Meddling heavenkind. I rolled my eyes. Well, you have a heavenkind stomach now, and I doubt it'll agree with a diet like that. But it does make sense that you wouldn't want to try the bread or cheese. I doubt dragons thresh rye or run dairy farms. It was then that I remembered the apple tart. Even if Care found the pastry part detestable, the fruit would probably be familiar to him. I urged him to sit down. When he refused, I simply made myself comfortable on the ground first. Here, this is the closest thing I have to something found in nature. I could forage, but that would take even longer. What is that? It's a pastry. My dad owns a bakery. You probably wouldn't understand that. It's basically a treat with apple filling and I think some apricot jam. Thankfully, my dad preferred showing off the natural ingredients. As a result, the top of the tart had slices of appetizing fruit covered with a lustrous yellow glaze. Care sniffed it warily. It must have been agreeable enough since he accepted the pastry. You're welcome. As soon as he nibbled on it, he realized how famished he was and quickly devoured the entire tart. I watched as he coughed slightly and wiped the crumbs off of his mouth, but his expression was unreadable. So, how was it? Anything tastes fine when you're starving. Or you just inhaled it so fast you didn't actually get to taste it. Well, it should tide you over until we reach the altar. Hare grabbed his stick and we resumed our trip. The extra sugar boost seemed to lift both the pace and his mood, although he stayed taciturn. As we continued through the forest, I stopped and groaned when I spotted some dark trees.
Oh no.
Those are... Nope, try it again. Yfelvan trees. Completely forgot. We should probably go around them. Yfelvan. He peered at the thick, gnarled trunks. What, scared of the bark? He'll be quicker if we continue in a straight line. No, it's not about the trees, it's what lies in them. They make perfect nests for vitterals.
The hell?
Yeah, same. Those giant bird things, I thought you would know them. I would if I understood your names. Why are you giving new names to everything anyway? We dragons were here first, and we've already established. I raised my hand to silence him, not wanting to make any unnecessary noise. He scowled, but a shrill cry startled the both of us. What do you call that? Sounded like a falcon, to be honest.
Whoa!
Usually food. Well, that'll be us now. Perched on one of the lower branches was a reptilian bird with scales running down its front. The rest of its body was covered in earth-toned feathers. Though probably no taller than 4 feet, its extremely wide wingspan and sharp talons made it a fearsome animal to encounter in the wild. The Vitarials raised young way into the fall, so the mothers would be extra territorial this time of year. The bird ruffled its plume, making itself seem larger than it was, and prepared to launch itself at us. I immediately stepped in front of Care, gripping my sword as I took a defensive stance. With Care's condition, an instant retreat wouldn't work. I'd have to guard him.
Whoa!
What are you? You're not planning to fight it, are you? Do we have a choice? Look out! I shoved Care off balance. Thanks to my quick reflexes, we narrowly avoided a slash from the Avitoral's talons. The wind whipped at my hair as debris flew up around us. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted forward, hoping to keep the Avitoral's attention away from Care. As it dove towards me, I slashed upward. Oh my god, my nose itches so bad. I keep pausing because it itches. It veered away, dodging my counterattack. Care, I'll keep it busy while you get away.
Bring it!
Are you stupid? I'm not leaving you behind. Care, I need you to take me to that altar. Maybe if you shouted the directions at me, I could get there alone. I'm kind of busy here. I can't get my bearings in the middle of a battle. My aggravation was the incentive I needed to keep the Avitoral at bay. However, my training had never covered aerial attacks, and the bird's scaly front was like armor.
The hell?
Are you holding back? Well, it's just protecting its young. It's trying to kill you. You think I haven't noticed? The wings, clip them. It won't hurt it, but it will stop it from flying. Just clip the tips. It won't fly ever again. That will eventually hurt it. You know, like, it won't be able to get food for its young because it won't be able to fly ever again. I widened my stance as I prepared for another attack. At the last second, I leapt to the side, slicing at an angle. My sword beautifully sheared the Avitoral's thick, primary feathers. The monster swerved into the ground, its shoulder and head bearing the brunt of the crash. It let out a cry, and I felt a split second of guilt. That vanished with a yelp as the bird tried to tear me down with its talons. Luckily, the Avitoral was designed for swooping down at prey rather than running on the ground, so it could only hobble awkwardly. Oh my god, just like Care! As it screeched and futilely spread its wings, I retreated, grateful that it was even slower than Care. I wove through the trees until it finally gave up chasing me. Sighing in relief, I looped back and returned to Care, who was also at a safe distance. Looks like it gave up, but what about its young? It'll be fine. The feathers will grow back. Okay, good. And it can still hop back to its nest. Its babies won't need to eat as constantly at this stage anyway.
Thanks.
You sure know a lot about them. Thanks for the suggestion. I already told you they're food. Of course I know about them. Soon the forest was quiet once again, with only the sounds of our footsteps and the tap of Care's walking stick breaking the silence. Surprisingly, he did not protest when I suggested a safer route, nor when I walked nearly shoulder to shoulder with him. I had the feeling that starting a conversation would push my luck, so I kept my mouth shut and instead hoped for no more setbacks. Ooh. This is it?
Yeah.
It's not a very deep cave. You simply take a turn and the altar is right there.
The hell?
That's it? No complex mazes, no shiny sacred magic lake for the guardian or anything? Hey, we did what we could. This is a modest altar. I took a deep breath and smiled reminiscently. I haven't been here in years. I think I came before to make the occasional offering around harvest season. I gave Care a cheerful look, but he continued forward, ignoring my recollections. I shrugged and followed, catching up to him. Care awkwardly knelt down before the altar, discarding the walking stick once he was comfortable. His eyes closed with a softened scowl, almost as if he was meditating. Suddenly, his mineral-like ears perked, and he stared directly at the statue. There was no change in atmosphere, but I could tell Care was angry. His hand tightly gripped his knee. I know we're connected. I demand that you remove this stupid curse. He fell silent, and I looked around in bemusement. He was talking to someone? But I could not hear the other half of the conversation. For some reason, that made me even more attentive as I tried to piece everything together. You can't be serious. Though I said a few things, but, huh? Yeah, I've met one. That's how I found the altar in the first place. He rolled towards me and blinked in confusion, as if studying me for the first time. I stiffened, wondering why he was staring at me so intensely. Once he finally turned away, I relaxed, although I could not help but feel anxious about the discussion. What about me?
Annoying.
Weak, pathetic, gives strange names to animals, doesn't seem to know much about Ishtara or how the world works. Is he referring to Heavenkind in general or just me? I guess their food is half decent or something. What? No, you're not sending me on a pointless inspirational quest. I'm not a child. I can't even walk in this form, so your plan is... At that moment, a blinding light flashed from where Care was standing, and I flinched in shock. Whoa, Care? By the time I had knelt down and worriedly grabbed his shoulder, the flash had already disappeared. In one smooth movement, Care removed my hand and stood up without the walking stick. His eyes still seemed focused beyond me, and he slowly nodded to himself. Did your powers return or something? He extended his palm and lurched towards the ground, slamming it against the hard stone. Oh shit. The entire cave shook. The tremor visibly and mentally shook me as well, and my heart pounded loudly. I felt so paralyzed that I couldn't even scream. Once I found my balance, I looked bewilderedly at Care, who flexed his unarmed fingers, or unharmed, I guess, with a smug expression. So... He barely glanced in my direction. It's not exactly what I wanted, however, a portion of my original powers and strength are back, along with my balance. I can finally be comfortable in this form now. That sounded like a slap. He gave a dismissive kick to the walking stick, then promptly walked away from the altar.
Right!
Well, that's promising at least. What will you do next? Do what he ordered me to do and become normal again.
I don't need your help.
Okay. So you don't need to follow me. I had to anyway. There was only one way out of that cave. But as soon as we were in the open air, Care took off running with a grace and speed I'm sure no real Heavenkind could ever replicate. I blinked once, and sure enough, I was alone. I scratched the back of my head, still absorbing what just happened. You're welcome? Burying my head in my hands, I shook my hair in frustration. Was I expecting something from this? Well, a thank you would have been nice. I tapped my sword hilt for reassurance. It's what a knight does. They help the weak and demonstrate their generosity when it's needed. Well, Care's not weak anymore. He can definitely take care of himself now. I guess my duty is done.
Right!
Mission complete. Just some experience as a reward and a discarded walking stick. Deciding not to linger any longer, I started walking back towards Barry. My parents would certainly be worried by now. Chapter 2. Welcome back. Okay. I have no idea how many chapters are in this. I trekked back through the forest, careful to avoid any more wild animals. When I reached the spot where I'd previously set up camp, I decided to take a quick break to eat. I unwrapped my bread and cheese, poking half-heartedly at their grainy texture as I stared at the remains of the campfire. Hello. As I was about to take a bite, I had an odd feeling of discomfort and glanced sideways. Am I really imagining things? I sighed. Hare, I know you're there. You don't have to hide. There was only silence at first, but I heard the rustle and turned my head again. Seriously, you just moved to another location. I hope you weren't going to wait until I was asleep to steal my stuff.
Shut up!
I wasn't planning to do anything like that. Care reluctantly emerged from behind one of the bigger trees. His expression looked conflicted, and I could tell he did not want to be with me again. Welcome back. Did you miss me? No, but then I realized I wouldn't be able to find the next altar without you. Well, you're out of luck. I don't know the whereabouts of any other dragon caves, nor am I carrying more apple tarts if you're hungry. There really is no reason to stick with me. You'll need to get another guide or find someone else that can help. But I don't want to go through the whole trouble of finding anyone else, at least until I get my bearings. I have no clue where to go from here. A small idea formed in my head. Wait. Perhaps I should accompany Care to Oliver. If I explain the situation to Mom, maybe she'll consider writing me the night recommendation letter.
Right!
Then if you'd like, I'll accompany you to Barry. From there, we can travel to Oliver. It's a huge city. You could probably find directions to other altars there. Does that sound acceptable? He grumbled in agreement and sat down on the fallen log I was using, but near the edge to leave plenty of space between us.
Look,
My master also asked for me to interact with Heavenkind more. And I've already been with you long enough. Nice to know I'm tolerable to be around. And your master doesn't seem that bad. He has an interest in working with Heavenkind. I guess he didn't like it when one of his pupils didn't share his point of view. At least he was kind enough to curse you with some clothes. I didn't think dragons normally wore clothes. Is that a spell, or are those the genuine articles? Care tugged on his shirt as if suddenly aware of it. I think it's a spell. It won't it won't wear off or anything, will it? I assure you, the spell won't wear off for my clothes. It's just that I don't want to glance back during, I don't know, the heat of battle and catch you stark naked.
Shut up!
That'll never happen. Jeez, why are you so interested in seeing me shirtless? If you want, I can take these off right.
Stay focused.
Please. No. I trust in the magical sustainability of those clothes, so please, keep them on. Besides, you'll stay warmer that way. Is that why Heavenkind wear them? Something like that. I pulled off some of the bread and popped it into my mouth. Care watched briefly with interest before averting his eyes. Let me guess, you're hungry as well? I don't know what Heavenkind consume, but I don't think I can eat what I normally would. I handed him the rest of the bread. He arched his eyebrow in surprise at the offering. It's fine. I had a small breakfast, and I'll be back in Barry soon. Without bothering to inspect it like he did with the apple tart, Care crammed the bread into his mouth. I stifled a laugh since I had a feeling dragons had no concept of chewing. Propping an elbow on my knee, I watched him with amusement. I also felt a little unimpressed with how dismissive he was towards me. Oh, 1000% tease. I lowered my voice to imitate him. Oh, okay. Oh, Auralee, I'm so eternally grateful.
You are the best that Heavenkind has to offer, and I'm so glad you helped me, fed me, and led me to where I needed to go. Where would I be without your immeasurable kindness? Thank you. Care coughed violently as he tried to respond and failed, and I continued. I feigned a sweet giggle and fluttered my fingers towards him.
You're welcome.
Oh, Care, it was nothing. After pounding his chest, then swallowing loudly, Care tried to speak up.
Shut up!
That still sounds like a slap. Before he could start, I stuffed the last portion of cheese into his mouth. I kept my hand there, and we exchanged a meaningful look. His stare softened, and I took a step back. It's nothing. You finish eating. I'm going to take a quick walk. I stalked off before he could answer. Ooh, okay. I approached the riverside, knelt down, and splashed my face with water, rubbing my forehead and cheeks. Then I inhaled deeply and ruffled my hair, careful not to snag on my braid. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. A knight was supposed to be courteous, generous, kind, just, honorable, and help those in need. And here I was, struggling to maintain a calm demeanor. There was something about Kara's attitude that always got me worked up. Well, that and him showing some gratitude would be nice. Or was it wrong for me to seek it in the first place? Still have a long way to go before I'm more like Mom. How does she do it? I grabbed a flat, polished rock and stood up, throwing and catching it a few times while I pondered what to do next. First things first, Carol returned to Barry with me. We'll need to stock up on supplies and figure out where the next altar is. Does he expect me to travel with him the whole time or until Oliver? I wonder if I'm mentally prepared for this. Gripping the stone, I threw it into the water at an angle. It skipped a few times before disappearing completely. I bit my lip, not pleased with my 3-hop achievement. I could probably get 7 rebounds on a good day. I should get back. I wonder if Kara already got impatient and left.
Just as I turned to leave, I heard a loud splash and immediately whirled around, unsheathing my sword. Yeah! I angled the blade upwards and widened my stance. Hi. Nice to meet you. Bursting from the water was a large serpent-like dragon with a translucent ridge down its back. It flapped its wing-like fins, head extending beyond the shore. I grit my teeth, searching for a weak point, but kept my distance. Tightening my grasp on my sword, I looked the dragon directly in the eye. It recoiled when it saw my weapon, withdrawing its head, but made no further movements. It didn't appear to be hostile. I slowly sheathed my sword, but kept a firm grip on its hilt. A mist formed around the dragon, and I stepped back, unsure of whether to retreat or wait. It seemed to vanish as the mist overtook it, and I squinted. Moments later, I spotted a rather hazy figure.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I blinked as a lithe, heaven-kind person appeared before me. He had similar ears as the water dragon, so I assumed they were one and the same. He also had brilliant teal-colored hair, which I'd never seen before. I mean, your hair is not exactly the most natural color either, but okay. He fidgeted with his hands and gave me an apologetic look.
Are you okay?
I didn't mean to, frighten you.
Oh, sorry about that.
I didn't mean to threaten you with my sword. It's just sort of instinctive, and it's understandable. You don't know what my intentions were, and I probably looked intimidating. We both stopped and exchanged an awkward smile. At first it was a giggle, but soon I started laughing, then rubbed the back of my head sheepishly. He joined in with his own gentle chuckle, and any tension we felt from our encounter dissolved instantly. So, what are you here for? I'm looking for someone. He should be around here, and he would have unique ears like mine, and... You mean Care? Are you Care's master?
Oh,
Me? Oh, no, I'm actually a pupil for someone else, but I know his master well. He raised his arms and glanced at the sleeves, tugging on them before inspecting the rest of his clothes. It was then I could see his long hair tumble over his shoulders, complete with a flowing purple ribbon. Damn boy, you look fine. You even transformed with a braid already in place. That's cute.
thank you.
Heaven girl, there you are. I have a name. Hare approached and gave the newcomer a supercilious, never heard of that word in my life, glare, who balked and glanced shyly away.
The hell?
I heard a large splash and came to check. Who are you? I'm Ilmari. We've met a few times. Hare gazed at him so intently that Ilmari squirmed uneasily. Nope, don't know you. And how did you find me anyway, Ilmara?
Well...
Ilmari. I overheard our masters talking and Master Bedros mentioned you, so I... Let me guess. They sent you. Sure. Sent. They sent me to supervise your assignment.
I'll go!
So please take me with you. Hare and I exchanged glances. Look, Ellie. Ilmari. Whatever.
I don't need your help.
This isn't exactly something I want to do, nor do I want more company to slow me down. Unless you can fly and instantly take me to the next altar, I'm not interested. Go back and tell our masters I can handle this myself. But... I sighed and stepped in, raising a hand to touch Care's shoulder. You don't need to. Care flinched from the physical contact, and I mentally kicked myself for forgetting already. Right, no touchy. Anyway, I think Ilmari will prove useful. He did say the masters wanted this, right? They placed their trust in him for a reason. Right.
I promise.
I won't be a burden. And if I am, well, I can go back. Care grumbled and walked downstream, waving dismissively.
I don't care.
Do what you want. Just promise you won't lecture me or do any of that nonsense. I already get it enough. Promise. Ilmari's smile was so bright that I couldn't help but grin as well. I turned to him and offered a hand, and he tilted his head, curiously. Looks like we'll be traveling companions, at least for a little while. This is an offer to shake hands. It's a greeting between heavenkind. Ilmari extended his hand, and I gave it a firm shake. Pleased to meet you. I'm Auralee. Pleased to meet you too.
Thank you.
For convincing Care. Thank you. Pardon?
Thanks.
You have no idea how long I've been waiting to hear those words. I have a feeling you and I will get along swimmingly. Get it? Swimming. Water. Water dragon. Swimmingly. Fuck yeah. He glanced back at the river, then chuckled. Is this heavenkind humor? Something like that, but it usually elicits more groans than laughter. Come on, we should probably get going before Care decides to ditch both of us. I don't have any more food to lure him back. About food and heavenkind needs. I researched a bit, but I'm not completely familiar. Don't worry, my dad makes food for a living, so you'll learn a lot about it. He nodded, happily. With that, we quickened our pace before Care could yell at us to hurry. I wonder how they'd react to entering a Heavenkind town. I feel like we're about to figure out. I was gonna say, that was a short chapter. Chapter 3, Barry. I wonder how many chapters are in this. Ooh, okay. Town. We arrived late afternoon. Barry was a small farming community nestled by the riverbank, perfectly situated between larger cities. I just looked to see, and there are 7 chapters, so we are, I need to remember, by the way, like, for some reason I can't hide my mouse, so I gotta put it down here and hope you guys can't see it. So we're about halfway through. Anyway. It had at least 3 dozen houses, many with their own farmland, and sprawling orchards beyond the river. Of course, it also had an inn for travelers, which was becoming popular thanks to the improved roads.
Wow.
Ilmari was thrilled, gasping over every little thing while his eyes excitedly darted from one house to the next. Kerr simply rolled his eyes and remained withdrawn as we walked over to my family's house. I admit I was concerned. Their ears weren't exactly natural, and Ilmari's hair color was striking, even from a distance. There were a few people who passed and gave curious glances, but they relaxed when they saw that I was accompanying the newcomers. You knew everyone in Barry, especially if you've lived here for most of your life. When we reached my house, I motioned over to Ilmari and Kerr. Can you two wait here for a bit? I need to talk to my parents first. I can't just invite strangers in. Is it some sort of Heavenkind formality? Yeah, formality. Something like that. That's why it's important you two don't wander off.
Of course.
I mean it. I opened the door and closed it behind me, stepping into the cozy room. Mom? Dad? I hope they didn't leave to search for me. That would be partially my fault. Aura. Mom. Oh, she's cute. Oh my god. I was embraced in a tight hug. My mother worryingly checked my face before stepping back. Where were you? Your dad got all anxious, and I kept telling him you would be all right, but when night came... I'm fine. The reason my scouting took so long was because I bumped into 2 travelers. They're not amnesiac? No. Any mystical-looking pendants on them? They have some simple jewelry, but no pendants. Dark and mysterious pasts.
I'm not sure.
One's a spoiled brat, and the other seems like he would be the youngest of a dozen siblings. Good. I've had too many troublesome experiences with people like that. Let them into the village, and the next instant, it's on fire. It's my girl.
Right.
Always thinking of everything. Where's Dad? I'm starving. He laughed at my carefree comment. He should be back soon. She leaned to one side, looking past me. You can let your friends in if you'd like. I turned to see Ilmari gingerly tapping the glass, then putting his hands all over in bafflement. It looked like he was performing mime. Oh no, Kerr left.
Wow.
Oh, interesting. I love that for you, though. What is this brilliant substance? You can see beyond it, but it's a barrier. Not from around here. You could say that. Once we all sat down at the table, Kerr was content leaning against the wall, being sullen. I quickly explained the situation. I left out the punishment since I had a feeling Kerr would get embarrassed. Here, in the first place, they'll be observing our customs and looking at some of the altars we built. It sounds wonderful. I know there's been more interaction between both races lately, but I'm out of the loop now. Mom used to be the captain of the guard for the city of Oliver, but had long since retired. She kept busy performing various protection services for travelers and merchants, patrolling Barry, and even taught sword fighting. We were hoping to leave first thing in the morning. And walk the whole way?
Well...
I could always swim, but it's been harder to navigate in this river recently. A lot of heaven-kind activity. None of us fly. I guess we could always hire a coachman. Actually, there's a small group of merchants heading for Oliver, and they won't leave until tomorrow afternoon. I had initially offered my services, but if you think you can handle it... You mean it? I can arrange it right now. Up for the challenge? It'll be your first real job outside of Barry without me. Of course, I'll protect them to the best of my ability. She laughed at my enthusiasm and excused herself, letting the Dragonkind know they were more than welcome to stay overnight. I grinned and pumped a fist into the air.
I'm going to be a real knight!
A knight? Well, probably more like a mercenary. You get hired to protect people and make sure they arrive at their destination safely. That's a good thing. That way we can get to Oliver and earn a little money. However, if I could ask my mom something later, then I'd really be a knight. I could have left for Oliver at any time, but I needed something important first. I was probably grinning like an idiot, but I didn't care. When I heard the door open, I knew it was my dad and immediately jumped up. Mom was likely on her late patrols again and wouldn't be back for a while. You two must be hungry. Is there anything you'd like to eat?
Thank you.
Well, I'm open to anything. I've never tried heaven-kind food before. We'll try our best to make you something you'll like, Ilmari. Hair? He pondered at first, then reluctantly looked up. Yes?
Look,
It was, the one with the apple slices on it?
Right!
Oh, apple tarts, of course. Pastries are my dad's specialty. He'll make some for you. The smallest of smiles appeared on Kara's face, but it quickly vanished. At least there was something heaven-kind related that he enjoyed. Our meal was pleasant, and I was surprised that my dad got Kara to say more than a few lines. My dad always had a way of winning people over through his cooking. We don't get to see him? Ilmari found our eating traditions extremely complicated, what with all the dishes and utensils used, but kept getting drawn to the windows again. If I ever let him loose in a stained glass church, I snorted behind my cup thinking about it. When Mom returned, I pulled her away from the group for a private chat. Is it all arranged, so I'll be able to guard the carriage tomorrow? Yes. Then, since I'm going to Oliver anyway, can you write a letter recommending me for knighthood? In Oliver, there was a special guild for knights. People trained by revered knights could be endorsed to serve under the Sun and Moon Council. If I was going to Oliver now, this would be the perfect opportunity to join them. With Mom's name, they would not refuse me. If anything, they'd usher me in with open arms. My mom sighed and rubbed her forehead, already tired of the persistent conversation. Honestly, Aura, I don't think you're ready and mature enough to... I'm ready. Not only that, I could help help the Dragonkind better. Please. She chuckled weakly, but I could tell she was still firm in her decision. Look, I'll think about it. For now, you can assist Kara and Ilmari just fine without the rank. I gave her a petulant look, but gave in. All right. I'm glad you're at least considering it. Thanks, Mom. I returned to the others who were finishing up their meal. As I gathered the dishes, Dad glanced towards the stairs. Would you like to spend the night here? You've already done so much for us. We also prefer spacious places, so we'll be fine outside. Are you sure? Do you see us living in these things? Not really. We still have some more time before it gets dark. I can show you around the town if you'd like. Ilmari brightened immediately.
I'll go!
I don't care.
Damn.
Oh,
Weren't you ordered to learn more about Heavenkind?
Annoying.
You can just summarize it for me. More about finding the altars, which are locations you visit after you learn.
Let's do this.
Let sleeping dragons lie, Omari. We can have fun without Crabapple sulking along. I grabbed Omari's hand and led him outside, deciding to show off the orchards the town specialized in. As we walked down the road, we passed a farmhouse where 4 children ran around, playing tag. When one spotted us, he waved, and the other 3 eagerly scampered towards us. Aura, come play! Another time chase. The youngest sibling crept forward and glanced up at Omari curiously. Your ears are funny. Is that a bad thing? Not at all. They're really cute, don't you think, Heather? She giggled. They look like butterflies. The children prodded at Omari and ran around until their mother called them back. Although I did not expect that, Omari seemed to have enjoyed himself. How sweet. They're all siblings, so they play together a lot.
wow.
Siblings? They're all related? Yeah, it's not uncommon to have large families here, although I'm an only child myself. What about you? I guess you were like the youngest of a dozen. No, I'm an only child too. It's extremely rare for dragonkind to have siblings. I don't think I've met one that had more than 2. He tilted his head, then glanced at me, hesitantly, as if pondering something.
I have a question.
Then for mating season, is it... Alarm bells went off in my head, and I made a giant cross with my arms to dissuade him. Nope, banned. I'm banning this subject. As if I could accurately answer those types of questions anyway. Damn. If you don't ask, I won't ask how it works between dragons.
I'm sorry.
Right. I agree. He appeared so awkward that I couldn't help but laugh, and we chuckled over a quick diversion.
Right.
All right, let's keep going. I can show you around one of the farms. Okay. One of the barns was open, which belonged to an old friend of my family. I casually strolled in, pointing to various equipment. Omari gestured to a device in the corner.
I have a question.
What does that do? Oh, it's a churn. You use it to, churn milk into cream or butter, or milk or cream into butter.
What?
Cream? Butter? Here, I'll demonstrate. Pretending, of course. I approached the cylindrical wooden tub and touched the stave. Basically, you plunge this up and down, and it'll shake the liquid and eventually turn it into a solid. Milk, cream, and butter are all types of food. As I explained, the house owner entered, carrying 2 buckets filled to the brim with something, probably milk. Hi, Brianny. I saw you showing your friend around, and I thought you'd like to demonstrate the real thing. With a wry smile, she set the buckets down. I wasn't planning on staying.
Wow.
I want to see it. Between Omari's persistence and my inability to decline a request from my mom's friend, I gave in. Right. I'll show you, Omari. Then afterwards, you can show him how to milk cows.
Let's do this.
Fine, I'll do it. I'll do it all. I wasn't sure how, but I got roped into chores while showing Omari around. His questions were endless, and he enjoyed every minute of it. I was gonna say, you could make him do it. Whenever I offered for him to take over, he'd shake his head and say that he'd probably mess up. I had the feeling he was just saying that. At least he loved the apple orchard when I was finally able to guide him there. It was late evening when we returned, and I was rolling my aching shoulder. Even my calluses have calluses. I haven't done farm stuff in years. I'm surprised I remembered it all. I'd been more focused on my sword training and patrolling duties as of late. But did you have fun, Omari? He grinned like a child who had just left the sweet shop with a pocket full of cookies.
That is so amazing!
I did. I thought it was really interesting. I don't know that I'd call it interesting, but I guess I've been here so long that it's all routine to me. If I was a knight, I could do more things. Nothing, just thinking out loud. You sure have a lot of questions regarding Heavenkind.
I'm sorry.
I love learning about new things. In return, if you have any questions about Dragonkind, I'd be happy to answer. He stopped and shyly fidgeted with his hands, and I could tell he anticipated an inquiry. Ooh. I guess just ask how he knows the language. Did you learn it? Yes, from what I know, Care was pretty much forced to while I learned it on my own. What about your own? What is it like? We communicate audibly, of course, but we also use telepathy. What's that exactly? It's sort of like projecting one's thoughts to another person. Of course, you need to wish for the person to pick up those thoughts. Dragonkind don't normally live in close proximity to another, so it's useful for us. That sounds pretty neat. What are you thinking now, if you could project it to me?
Thank you.
About how much fun I had. Thank you so much for showing me around Barry. It was no problem. Anyway, I muffled a yawn. I should get to bed now. We have a busy day ahead of us.
Thank you.
Night, Auralee. Thanks so much for everything. It's fine, I had fun too, even if I got dragged halfway across Barry to do odd chores. Once I opened the door to my house, I spotted my mom sitting at the table. Oh? Holding a quill over some blank parchment. What you writing? I covered my mouth to muffle a squeal. You're doing it? You're writing the letter? I bounced on my heels and launched into a tackle as I hugged my mom from behind. I peered over her shoulders.
I'm going to be a real knight!
You're actually going to do it! You're actually going to do it! I halted and let go, suddenly confused. Wait, what made you change your mind? My mom laughed and leaned back, flashing me a meaningful smile. Well, I did some thinking and I thought maybe you were right. You are ready. That's what I've been telling you.
Thanks!
Love you and good night. I look forward to reading it in the morning. I dashed upstairs, determined to fall asleep. However, I couldn't help but toss and turn as I replayed the day's events. And not only Omari's questions, but that I was going to become a knight once I arrived in Oliver. The task to protect the carriage could be viewed as my first duty as a knight. My first real mission. I certainly couldn't sleep now. I hugged my pillow and rolled around, unable to stop my giddiness.
I'm going to be a real knight!
Do professional knights normally act like this? I don't care, I'm so happy. To achieve the title of knight, one usually had to be trained at a famous school or academy and graduate from there. Since I did not live in a big city and had such establishments, I trained solely under my mom instead, and her status and achievements were well known. Which is why I needed that letter badly. If she recommended me, other captains or noblemen would probably hire me, and I would serve the Sun and Moon Council. And I'd be able to see more of Ishtara outside of Barry, as a real knight. Unable to remain still, I hopped out of the bed and paced restlessly. I approached the window, not sure what I expected. How are those two doing anyway? It's not like Care can transform back and sleep how he always does. I wonder if I can find them and check on them quickly. Snatching the blanket off the bed, I wrapped it around my shoulders like an oversized shawl. I then strapped on my belt and scabbard and walked out the door. Outside, it was comfortably cool, and I found the sound of crickets and frogs soothing as I walked beside the river, I guess I anticipated finding Ilmari asleep on the bank or underwater. On a whim, I entered the apple orchard. I spotted Ilmari sitting against one of the tree trunks. His ears instantly perked up, although I had the feeling he'd heard me approaching earlier. Can't sleep? Something like that. I sat down next to him. He poked at the grass in front of him dejectedly. Care wouldn't bond with me. Bond? Dragons bond by nestling together. I thought since we were going to be travel companions despite our differences. He hated the idea, though. Care doesn't seem to like being touched in general, I can imagine.
Well...
He stopped and tucked his knees up, his arms resting around his legs. What about you? I mean, is it different between Heavenkind? Well, cuddling is something between family and loved ones. Hugs are more acceptable between friends. What did I know? My mind was full of knighthood dreams and sword skills. In no way was I knowledgeable about Heavenkind relationships. Hug? You put your arms around someone and hold them close. I mimed the action using my blanket. He nodded in understanding. Oh, then I guess you wouldn't, Come here. Declining Ilmari would be like rejecting a basket full of kittens. Kittens that all looked up at you pleadingly. For a few minutes. I can't stay out here all night. I do need to return to my bed. I shuffled over to him until we were both shoulder to shoulder and adjusted the blanket so it draped over both of us. It's not that cold out? Not really. It feels nice. So, forgot to ask this earlier, but why are you so interested in learning about Heavenkind? Because your culture is fascinating.
That is so amazing!
Everything that Heavenkind do is amazing. You can create things I've never seen before. And look, you can do this. He wiggled his thumbs and fingers. You're so dexterous. I laughed and mimicked him momentarily. It's true our kinds are interacting more. I assume you've heard of it.
Of course.
I'd like to be a sort of mediator. I think you'd call it a diplomat? I've already tried to help Heavenkind before, but it didn't work out. It's harder than it looks. How so?
Well...
This one incident, they were willingly entering this monster's mouth, and there was nothing I could do about it, okay?
What? No.
A monster? Yeah, this strange one that smells of wood and floats on the water. Oh. I've never seen it before, and the Heavenkind simply enter it. I nudged it a few times, but people seemed upset. Ilmari, those are boats. We use those to travel up and down the river.
What?
So it wasn't a monster? He slumped into the blanket, mortified. I patted him on the shoulder, trying to reassure him. It's okay, misunderstandings happen. You had good intentions. And now you'll be able to study Heavenkind at a more personal level. I'll do my best to clarify anything you're uncertain of. In return, tell me more about Dragonkind. That seems fair. I'll try not to ask any more boring questions, though. I mean, what interested me didn't seem so fun for you. I'm never churning butter ever again. Feeling that our conversation had reached a satisfying note, I clutched the blanket and stood up. You'll be fine by yourself?
Of course.
I'll see you in the morning. Playfully, I draped the blanket back over him. Even a dragon might need an extra layer of warmth in a Heavenkind body. Take care, then. Sup, bro? As I sauntered back to my house, guided by the bright moon, I spotted Care restlessly pacing by the door. Hello? Need something? Omari is past the river if you're looking for him.
I don't care.
Thanks for the heads up, since I can avoid him easier. I would have given him a light punch to the shoulder, but I remembered he hated contact. Mean. Play nice. He'll be traveling with you after all. I hope you don't mind getting stuck with me until we reach Oliver. I think we'll have fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Annoying.
I noticed. I heard you squealing even from afar. My ears couldn't shut it out if I tried. I'm sorry. It's something I've always wanted to do, and now it's the perfect opportunity. All the experience from my freelance jobs will finally pay off, and I'll be on the road to knighthood. Let's make tomorrow's task a successful one. We're guarding that wagon so the merchant's cargo will arrive safely in Oliver. Think you can handle it? He wrinkled his nose. An escort mission. Not the most glamorous duty, but it's honorable. Anyway, I'm going to bed. I promise I'll stop squealing. As I was about to open the door, Care stepped forward.
Look,
He scratched the back of his head sheepishly, and I was surprised by his rather modest display. Yes? About earlier. When you crammed that food into my mouth, okay?
Oh, sorry about that.
I was joking, so don't worry about it. I'm sorry if it seemed mean-spirited. It wasn't my intention. No, you were right. Care seemed both shocked and offended by my reaction.
thanks.
What I mean to say is, you did help me a little. A little? I gave you a walking stick, fed you, fought a giant bird, took you to the altar, got ditched, only for you to come crawling back. And I accepted you a second time. Now I'm starting to wonder why I did. I feigned contemplating, and he glanced away anxiously, dreading that I would refuse to help him now. I stuck out my tongue to appease him. Don't worry about it. Maybe I was right about me having immeasurable kindness. I am grateful, but you exaggerated a bit. You're definitely not the best heavenkind has to offer. Piqued, I gave him a swift kick to the back of the leg. Ow.
Right.
You're right, I'm not. But I'll definitely be the best knight. Even if I lost some kindness points with that action, I'll re-earn them tomorrow. Night, Care. Night. I closed the door behind me, resisting the urge to squeal about tomorrow. It always takes a while for the next chapter thing to load. Chapter 4, To Oliver. Yippee! I think, honestly, that I'm going to end this recording here, though, however. I'm getting tired. I think it's, possibly because I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning. I had to think about it. It's been so long. I've had such a long day, but I wanted to, at the very least, record a little bit of something for as long as I could. Unfortunately, it was only like an hour and 20 minutes, but at least we are getting things done. I'm nervous and I don't know what any of these buttons down here do. How about escape? Sure, that works. I'll save this here. What button was that? Oh, okay, so that's the inventory chest button, because I was worried that home could have been a save sort of thing, but home's the main menu. I'm glad. Oh my god, look at him. So cute. I'm glad that they have a little are you sure, because I could totally see somebody hitting that button accidentally. While I'm here pressing buttons. Yeah, so same thing as I assumed. Page up as you go backwards. We have to wait for this whole thing to be again. Hold on. Any day now. And then it should be H hides. Yeah, same buttons as always. for the most part. There are other buttons as well that you can press, but I don't want to take a screenshot. I'm just interested in knowing. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to end this here for now because I am tired. And you know how like when you get so tired that your eyes are like twitching? I've got some eyeball twitches going on. But I am interested in seeing how this is going to go. I doubt that we're going to leave them in Oliver. And I'm interested to see the characters' later hair perhaps growing. So we will see, but I'll leave this here for now. I'll stop rambling. Thank you for joining me tonight for the first half of this game. I hope that you're enjoying it so far, and I will see you next time for some more Autumn's Journey.